Hello everybody, my name is JD and welcome back to a new video. As you can probably see, I have a Clair Obscur's Expedition 33 gameplay in the background on. This is actually my own video because, I always watch my own videos on my free time. No, I don't do that. Not like seriously, it's just... I wanted to make this video because it's been a month now since I finished Expedition 33. And I kind of wanted to make a video just giving my thoughts on the game itself, the story, and, what I have in mind, because this game has been on my mind even though I finished it. I didn't finish all the extra content, like the optional areas and shit. I did not finish all of them. I did a few optional areas in my video series. You can find the video series on the channel. You can also find it in the description. There's a link to the playlist. I finished the game about 27 episodes, I believe. So it wasn't that long. It was just long enough that it was perfect. But yeah, I am gonna spoil the story while I talk about this here and now. So if you don't want spoilers or you haven't played the game, first of all, go and play the game because you're not gonna be disappointed. It's amazing. It's one of the better games that have come out this year, and I would say it's actually one of my favorite games. Maybe not in top 10 or anything like that, but maybe in top 20 favorite games. I would say this game is somewhere in there. Where should I start? I'm kind of probably gonna start talking about the visuals first. The game looks absolutely stunning. It's beautiful, and I had no frame drops throughout the entirety of the game. I was certain that because the game looked so beautiful that there was gonna be frame drops, maybe some glitchy animations and shit, but there was nothing like that. There was a few moments where I had some glitchy animation, but very little amount. And I really enjoyed the visuals, and especially this under the sea area, this flying waters area, was probably one of my favorites. It looks so beautiful, and it really feels like you are underwater, even though they can breathe and move normally like that, as you can see here. Another one that was really good, nice area, was the mountains area. I don't remember its name at the moment, but basically the last area that ends Act 1, that area was also very beautiful. I didn't really like the enemies in that area, but the area itself was beautiful. The game, as I said, the Axons that you meet later on in the game, especially Siren, they are really well made, and the Nevrons as well. Like, I liked the Nevrons more in these starting areas because they were these weird looking things, like this Nevron, for example, here in the background. That one looks good, but then we get more humanoid versions of them later on in the game, and it kinda loses the charm, in my opinion, because I felt like if you're gonna make a game like this and have weird enemies, let's just go full on weird and make them look even weirder the more further we go. But anyway, I have no complaints about the visual effects of the game, no complaints about the graphics, and that's a good thing. I guess I would talk about combat next. The game has a very unique combat system. I really enjoy turn-based combat. I think, I really enjoy turn-based combat, and especially as Persona 5 is one of my favorite games of all time. That game has turn-based combat. It's not like Persona 5 in a say, because you have the dodge and the parry system. Basically, you can dodge, you can parry attacks from enemies, and if you are really good at the game, you can finish it without taking any damage, which is like something that I am not good at, the parrying and the dodging in this game, especially not the parrying. It's really difficult because you have to be really on point with your parries. So I ended up dodging more throughout the game than parrying, which was probably a mistake because later on in the game I noticed that I was dodging, and if you parry attacks, they actually do damage if you manage to parry like 3 times in a row or something. So yeah, I think that was my mistake, that I didn't really learn to parry. I only really dodged everything, and that doesn't give you as much reward as parrying does. But I really enjoyed the combat system, and it was a very unique way, the dodge mechanics. I really still wish that I would have gotten a little bit better at it. You can see even here, this is me playing and I'm missing dodges. I don't think I really fully ever learned learned it, but I think if I would play this again and go through this beginning area, I would know a little bit better now that I have played the entirety of the game. I really enjoyed the combat system and the fact that all the characters have different moves. That's a really good thing. Gustav has his overcharge, Lune has her magic attacks, and Mael has her stance and all that. Yeah, I really enjoyed the fact that every character doesn't play the same, that every character is unique and different, and you have a unique playstyle. And Mael actually ended up being my main damage dealer throughout the entirety of the game. I had Mael in my team since you get Mael in the Flying Waters. I don't think she ever left my team after that. I got her because her virtuous stance that you get is just amazing. It does so much damage, and then when you use Pierce or Precise or whatever it's called, I really enjoyed that. And of course, when we talk about Gustav, we have to talk about the fact that his overcharge is amazing, but he is not with us. He's not with us throughout the entirety of the game, but I really enjoyed Gustav's overcharge as well. I think probably the weakest character weakest unique character would probably Verso himself. We meet later on Verso. I think probably his own unique mechanics are the weakest, because I don't really fully get them even to this day. They are a little weird. Not to say that it's bad to play with Verso, because he has a lot of good attacks with a lot of damage. But anyway, I have talked about the visuals, I've talked about gameplay. I guess I'm going to talk about the story a little bit, and once again now, everybody who hasn't played the game, click off the video because I am going to spoil it. The game starts amazingly with Gustav throwing rocks at the paintress, and the fact that we don't really know about anything in the beginning. The beginning makes it look like Gustav is going to be this most important character of the game. And then at the end of Act 1 he just dies, and I'm going to talk about it soon. But the opening prologue is just amazing. The visuals are amazing, and in that short amount of time that you see Gustav and you see Mael for the first time and you see Sophie, it's like you really start to care about these characters in that really short amount of time. And it's so sad when Sophie eventually gommages, and we learn what the gommage is. The fact that everybody at that age just disappear, it's really sad. The next day Gustav is all depressed and sad, and we meet like his companions, the ones that he's gonna do the expedition with, and we meet like his friends there, and it's just so unpredictable, because his closest friends, or those who come to comfort him in the beginning of the festival, they all die just instantly. That really took me off guard. I was really certain that these characters were going to be very, very important, but no, they just die instantly after you get to the island. And when you get to the island, the scene where Renoir first walks in is so amazing. And he's very intimidating looking when he just approaches them, no words, and he just kills that one guy. Then Lampmaster appears and just slaughters everybody. And Gustav wakes up all alone. And then when we finally meet the first Neveron, you're like, okay, this is it. Like, we are in danger. We are on this island now. There is enemies to attack, and we have to try and find the others. And Lune obviously is the first one who shows up when Gustav is just about to end his life, and Lune shows up to save him, pretty much. Also, we meet Mael next, and again, like I said, Mael is my favorite, probably. And there's more to Mael than meets the eye. Like, we start having glimpses in the story that Mael is really important. And if you have seen the ending, you already know that she is very important to the story. The story is a lot full with twists and turns. Like, you never really know what to expect or what's gonna happen. And as you progress on the island through Act 1 and Act 2, it's such a mystery. You just don't know what's going on, and when you finally think you're starting to understand what's going on, the game throws another plot twist at you. Well, basically, we all know how Act 1 ends. Gustav dies, Renoir kills him, and Renoir tries to kill Mael, but Mael is saved by Verso, and after that Act 1 ends. And Verso becomes the new main character, and Gustav is dead, unfortunately. Which is, again, very sad, because you really learn to like him, and you really, really become attached to him at the start of the game, and then he's just gone. Now, Verso, on the other hand, I am a little bit mixed. I have a little bit mixed feelings about Verso. I personally felt like he was very suspicious. He felt like he was hiding something constantly, and I feel like the others, when Verso joins them, the others didn't really interrogate him. I mean, they do interrogate him a little bit, but not enough, because Verso obviously knows more than he's letting on, and we see throughout Act 2 and 3 that he lies constantly. He tells half-truths, he doesn't tell important things that you need to know, and I kind of got annoyed by that towards the end, where Verso just kept lying, and everything would have been so easy if he would just have explained what's going on. But he refused to explain. He just lies and acts suspicious, and then he acts all pissy when people get pissy at him for hiding shit. But I'm not saying I hate him, okay? Like, he is a good character. And I really like his attacks a lot, because I think he was also one of those who did a lot of damage. But him as a character, I kinda felt like he was more of a villain than a protagonist. One thing that I forgot to talk about, that before we meet Verso, we also meet SKA. And SKA is one of my favorite characters in the game. The humor around SKA is just amazing. I got so many laughs while SK was around, and when you move with him in the overworld are just amazing, and you get more movements throughout the game, and at the end when you get flying, it opens so many areas with him, and so many optional areas. Speaking of optional areas, I didn't do all of them. I did a few optional areas, but not all of them. I really disliked those optional areas that had like one thing in them and the camera like freezes and you walk with the character in there in like, how would I explain it? But those areas that only had like one thing in them and the camera is frozen and it's really zoomed out. I didn't like those. It would have been really nice also that there was like a checklist in the overworld, something that tells us that we have already been here, because I kept going into same areas that I had already visited. And speaking of the fact that I wanted a checklist to know that I have been here already, I also would really like a minimap in this game. You know, you have the map when you are in the overworld, yes, and it's amazing. It's good that there is an overworld map, because otherwise you would get completely lost. But when you are in, for example, the Flying Waters or in the other areas, I would really have liked there to be a minimap in there as well, because I got lost many times, and I would have really liked not to backtrack constantly and get into the same area, because I got lost a few times, and it kind of started to annoy me after a while, because I kept walking into same areas, and it was still not the way I was supposed to go. In the first few areas, I tried to explore absolutely everything, but I kind of eventually got bored of it, because I just wanted the story to end, so towards the end, I did not explore all the areas that were there. But yeah, minimap and a checklist that we see where we have been would have been nice. Those are kind of like some maybe quality of life updates you could give this game in the future. I don't know. The game is almost perfect, so there's really not much you can improve from this. So let's talk about Verso a little bit more. We meet also another Verso's friend, Monoko, which is the last party member that we get. We get CL while Gustav is still in the story, but I barely played with CL, so I don't really know anything about her. I don't really know her mechanics either. And I kinda regret that, because I see a lot of videos on YouTube where people have her in their main party, and I kinda had just Lune, Mael, and Verso in my main party, and everybody else were in the background. Like, I never really even tried to learn how CL works, which I kinda regret. The same goes for Monoko as well. I always had him in the background, he wasn't in the main party. And I know that he has really cool mechanics, like he can turn into Nevrons if he gets their feet. But because he was barely in my party, I didn't really get a lot of transformations with him. And I kind of regret that as well. So if I'm ever gonna do a second playthrough of this game, I'm gonna make sure I learn CL and Monoko as well. Also, Monoko Station, the train station, is a really nice looking area. I really enjoyed that. And the way Verso recruits Monoko is just so funny. It was one of the moments where I bursted out laughing because Verso just talks him into joining the expedition. I guess I'm gonna talk about the story a little bit more. Before we get to the Paintress, we have to kill the Axons to break the barrier that's surrounding the Paintress. And the Axons were really interesting because their boss fights were actually hard. Like I really struggled, especially on the Mask boss, and a little bit on the Siren as well. I don't remember, was it Mask Keeper or whatever he was called? The Mask boss. But yeah, we killed the Axons and we finally get to the Paintress, and I kinda already figured that was not gonna be the end of the game, because when we get to that giant Paintress, we realize that that's not the real Paintress. Like the Axons, a creation in there. Now, I'm not fully aware of the story, like I know the story, yes, but I didn't fully understand absolutely everything. It gets so complicated later on, but basically we figure out that that's not the real Paintress, that's not the one who is gamashing everybody. And Renoir, we fight him again after we get through the monolith, when we meet the fake Paintress. And after we fight Renoir the second time, we meet the real Paintress, like the real Paintress, real one. And that fight with the real Paintress is just amazing. I really loved it. Visuals and dodges are really difficult, but they look just gorgeous how she swings entire planets at you. It's just good. And we then find out after that pretty much what's going on, because when everybody just goes back to Lumiere to celebrate, everybody gamashes, and we finally realize why Mael is so important to the story, because Mael is like a reincarnation of what was she called again? I don't really remember. Like everything that happens is inside a painting. Everything that happens, we are inside a painting. This is a painted world. We live in a painted world. We learned that later on, and it was a plot twist I was not expecting at all, that we are inside a painting, and Verso is a painted Verso. It's not actually a real character. And we of course go and meet Renoir with Mael, who has now regained her memories from her real life. And Renoir instead is trying to destroy the painting. It gets really complicated. I am not really good at recapping the story, so if you want to a recap of the story, there's a lot of good videos on it, about it on YouTube. So I'm just gonna talk about the ending. In the end, we end up fighting Renoir, who turns out to be the curator, who we meet when we meet Mael in the manor. And that fight also is amazing. I really love that fight. It was difficult, but it was amazing. At the end, we get a choice between Verso and Mael. And I already told you that I kinda disliked Verso at this point, so I obviously chose Mael, which is kinda considered as a bad ending, because Mael gets stuck in this painting now, just like her mother did. We see the ending where we see everybody in that theater ready to watch Verso play the piano, and we see that Mael starts withering away at the end, and that's how the game ended with me. I did watch from YouTube what happens if you side with Verso, and I guess that's considered a good ending, that Mael finally returns from the painting to the real world. But yeah, those are my thoughts about Expedition 33. This is just a completely unscripted rambling of me talking about the game. But I'm gonna give it I would say an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed most of the game. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what the studio are gonna make next, because this was their first game and they already made this amazing masterpiece of a game. So yeah, maybe the standards for them are a little bit high now. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next game that this studio is gonna make. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Expedition 33. Hope you enjoyed. Like this video and subscribe to the channel, and go and watch my full playthrough of Expedition 33 on the channel. Link in the description. Anyway, that's it. Bye!